Hey there, Parker Reed here, and welcome to PR Media, your home for everything movies and music through my eyes. In the latest entry in the Discography Rank series, we're going to be looking at Bon Iver. Bon Iver is an indie rock alternative band from my hometown of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, fronted by Mr. Justin Vernon, and you know him from singles nowadays with Kanye West and Taylor Swift. But his band Bon Iver is one of the best in the indie genre. They've got 4 studio albums, so let's rank them worst to best. Coming in at number 4, we have their 2019 effort. We got I. Now, all the records in Bon Iver's discography I think are really solid, and this one just so happens to be my least favorite in their discography. It's got some great tracks like Hey Ma. I think that's a standout track on this album, but overall, they just kind of bleed together for me. A lot of them are too short. I think Hey Ma is even coming in at 3 minutes or less. It's a nice spring-feeling album, but overall it's ultimately pretty forgettable. He likes to experiment a little bit more with some indie sensibilities and some pop sensibilities on this record, but it doesn't have the single power that the other albums in the Bon Iver discography have, so that's why it comes in at number 4 in my Bon Iver discography ranked video. Coming in at number 3, we have 22 A Million. 22 A Million sees Bon Iver going in a little bit more experimental electronic direction because the first 2 records are very guitar focused, but songs like Over Soon and 33 God show just how great Justin Vernon and company were on this album. There's a lot of great production, there's a lot of great experimental sounds on this album, like 75 Creeks and 22 Death Breast. They show just the experimentation that Bon Iver is willing to do. They show where they're willing to go. They are never boring, even if I don't love every Bon Iver song. They're never boring, and they're quite interesting. They'd like to change it up on every album. And 22 Million is a solid record that I return to quite frequently. I mean, there's a mural of the album cover like 2 or 3 blocks from my house. So 22 Million is a solid album. It's not in my top 2, but the first 2 that are absolute indie rock classics. Coming in at number 2 is Bon Iver, Bon Iver. No, it's not self-titled, and if you don't, you dare say it is, because if you do, Justin Vernon won't like it very much. I remember I was working at a record store at the time when this album was at its highest prevalency, and my boss was like, do not say self-titled, because if Justin Vernon finds out that we say that, he's going to get annoyed. It's Bon Iver, kind of like a street, apparently. But this album is chock full of great melodies, fantastic guitar work, some great vocals, and the songwriting on here is top-notch Bon Iver. The opening track, Perth, and Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Holocene, and Calgary, and Washington, they're all fantastic tracks that I think need to be played more live than they are currently, and they're incredibly immersing. This album is emotional, this album is visceral, and it is one that I think doesn't get enough love in the Bon Iver discography when you compare it to their first album. And this album was very intentional from Justin. He decided he was going to write it one day and sat down with his guitar every day and wrote. And this really propelled them into the mainstream. I mean, they're opening up for Radiohead at Coachella on this tour, and they played like Wembley Stadium. So Bon Iver is a great record. I think it was incredibly influential in the genre, and it's number 2 on my Bon Iver discography ranked list. Coming in at number 1, and what I think is Bon Iver's best album, is their 2007 debut, For Emma, Forever Ago. If you have any indie sensibilities at all, if you're connected to that music genre at all, I'm sure you've heard it. It's probably the most popular song in the genre with Skinny Love, and it's been covered to death. I know people have heard the Birdie version and they think it's an original song by her, but no, it's Bon Iver's, damn it. But songs in this album like Flume and The Wolves, Act 1 and 2, are some of the best that Bon Iver have ever put out. And Justin Vernon's falsetto on this album is absolutely beautiful. When you hear that he recorded a lot of the tracks on this album with like an $80 guitar, that's insane to me because it sounds fantastic, and it shows that talent will override and supersede any amount of great equipment. His songwriting is at top notch on this record, and I like to say about artists and songs in general, if you can just have a guitar and one vocal, no backing vocals, no piano, no nothing else besides a guitar and a vocal, and encapsulate me, you're a great artist. And this album is a fantastic example of that. The last song, Regarding Stacks, coming in over 6 minutes and only featuring Justin's vocals and guitar, that's my favorite song Bon Iver's ever put out, and it's a shining example of why this band is so great and why this album is number 1 in Bon Iver's discography. So there you have it, Bon Iver's albums ranked from worst to best. Do you agree with my list? And what would you put on your list? Thank you so much for watching PR Media. My name is Parker Reed. Keep supporting physical media. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Aiming and we were drunk and we had flesh.